If they're the same person.
Well, today for Christmas, my cousin got me.
I really do that.
My cousin got me.
I don't like the game. All I know is.
So yesterday we were talking about asymptotes and the relationship between asymptotes and limits. Any questions about that? Okay, so today we're going to talk about like reverse limits, kind of like what if you know what the limit is and you have to find points that have that limit. Okay, so this is like reverse limits. So the idea here is given a particular limit, find points on a graph that have that limit. Okay, like for example, suppose I'm trying to find points on a graph where the limit as x goes to a of f of x equals 2. And I'm trying to find the a values where this is true. You get what I'm saying? So they would give you a function, a graph, and maybe the graph would look something like this. Maybe it would be like, just making this up. Suppose we have a function that goes like, kind of like that, and then it goes like this, like that. Okay, and you're trying to find points on this graph where the limit as x goes to a is 2. Well, it would definitely be true at whatever this point is, right? So maybe this x value is -2. So this would definitely be true for a equals -2, right? Because that's a completely continuous section of the graph, and the limit and the y value are just the same. And since the y value is 2 at that point, the limit is 2 at that point. Does that make sense? But it definitely wouldn't be true at this point, right? Whatever this point is, like say this is like at x equals 1. This statement is not true if a is 1, because the limit as x goes to 1 is what in this case? It doesn't exist. It's not 2, right? So you wouldn't include 1 on your list of points where this is true. If you go further out, there's another x value here, like maybe 3, where it's just a continuous section of the graph. And so it is true at that point, because the limit as x goes to 3 in this case is 2. So the only 2 points on this graph where that statement is true is if a equals -2 and if a equals 3. Your strategy should be like, picture like a horizontal line, like an imaginary dotted horizontal line at whatever this number is. So y equals 2 in this case. The potential candidates for a values are going to be like, where does the actual curve intersect this dotted line? Those are like potential candidates where this might be true, right? It has to kind of, the function has to like somehow intersect with this dotted line in order for the limit to equal 2, right? So basically there's 3 potential candidates in this case. There was this point, there was this point, and there was this point. But we deduced that this one actually is not true for, right? Maybe there's a section of the graph where you draw your dotted line, your dotted horizontal line, and maybe the function is going along, and then there's a hole in it. Well, that would still be true, right? The limit would definitely be whatever number this is. Like if this would happen to be y equals 2, right? Again, then in this case, the limit as x goes to that number is definitely 2, right? Because it's a hole. So you're basically drawing your horizontal dotted line, and then just figuring out, is there a continuous section of the graph where the graph comes into contact with that dotted line? Is there a hole in the graph, or is there a jump? Or is there something else weird happening, right? And if it happens to be a continuous section of the graph or a hole, then yeah, that point works. The limit is what it says it is. If there happens to be a jump at that point, then the answer is no. You kind of get the idea? Let me show you the actual assignment on Delta Math, and you'll see it's very similar to this, okay? So this is called graphical limits reversed. So if I go to a typical problem, here's a typical problem. They give you a fairly busy looking graph, right? It's pretty like cluttered, right? But then the question says, find the values of a for which the limit is -4. So all you're going to do is you're just going to picture this vertical or horizontal line at -4 and figure out what the potential candidates are. The potential candidates are any points where the graph sort of comes into contact with this red horizontal line. Well, where's that? It comes into contact like at this point at -7. It comes into contact at -4. It comes into contact at -3. It comes into contact at -1, and then again at 5. Those are the only points that it could possibly be, right? Now you just have to figure out which of those is the limit actually equal to -4. Well, this first situation, it's a jump. What's the limit as x goes to -4? Doesn't exist, so don't count that one, right? The second point is x equals -4. What's the limit as x goes to -4? It's -4. Right on. That's the one that works. That's one of them that works. The next candidate is -3. What's the limit as x goes to -3? It exists.
I don't see.
Oh, it's -5.
It's -5. It's the y-coordinate of the hole. It's not that point, right? If they ask you what is f of -3, then it would be -4. But just because the graph happens to come in contact with this squiggly line at that point doesn't mean that that's what the limit is. The limit is actually the y-coordinate of the hole. Remember, you ignore random solitary points, right? So that one doesn't work. What's the limit as x goes to -1 in this graph? I said the limit exists, but the limit is not -4, which is what we're trying to find. We're trying to find points where the limit is -4. The limit's actually -5 at that point. Does that make sense? Yeah, at -1, the limit doesn't exist because it's another jump. Nope, no good. The next point where the graph comes into contact with this horizontal line is at 5. What's the limit as x goes to 5? It's -4. It's what it should be. So 5 works. So I found 2 points where it actually works. So then all you're going to do is you're just going to enter in 2 points down here. Now, if you know you have 2 answers, like I know I have 2 answers here, you got to press the little plus button, so it gives me 2 spaces to put answers. If I determine that there's no answers, I would just press the minus button until there's an empty set and just submit that. That means there's no solutions. Okay, so the plus button gives you more answers. The minus button gives you less answers, up to 0. So I just would type in -4 into one of them. -4 and then 5. And then if I click submit answer, those are the answers. And you can see their analysis. Let me erase my writing here. Their analysis is really similar to what we just did. They're saying this is the point where we want the limit to be. Where does the graph come in contact with that? Here, 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 and here. And then you rule out the ones that don't work, either because there's a jump at that point, or because where it comes in contact is actually just a random solitary point that we want to ignore because it's just a limit. Does that kind of make sense? Let's do one more example. So this time they're asking you to find where the limit is 0. Okay, so if this is 0, I can see that the graph comes into contact in some way with this squiggly line in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different points, right? You just need to identify which of those 5 points, if any, the limit is actually 0. Is the limit actually 0 at this point? Yes, it is, right? Because it's a hole in the graph, and the y coordinate of the hole is 0. So -6 definitely works. Is the limit, what's that?
-8.
Oh, 8. That's an 8. Yeah, thanks. How about at -7? Is the limit 0? Definitely not. There's a jump there. How about at -2? Is the limit 0? Yes. -2 works. How about at 0? Is the limit 0? No. How about at 7? Is the limit 0? Yes. So you just type in 3 different solutions. -8, -2, and 7 would be the 3 values of A that make that thing true. Does that make sense? So they're giving you a limit, and you're trying to find the points where the limit is actually that number. Okay? All I got. Yeah, of course. There's 3. Yeah. So there's right.
I've seen this.
I know it's good. You just watch a video. Right?
Okay.
That's it. But I haven't done it.
No, other way around.
Videos to watch.
X is going to
I should
the
do
y
it.
value. This number is the x value. This number is the y value.
Yeah, but
So if the y values are going
Zero
to
is
-5,
good,
then it has to be one of
and
these two. One where the second order is -5. That's the y value.
whatever.
So it's the first choice.
Are they gonna do
Infinity
it
is the-
again?
Let's make sure that Bressler doesn't. Just like the one that you showed.
Yeah.
My room show was fixed, I guess.
Yeah.
That was living my car. Think I could do that?
That makes sense.
See how the gym's. I don't even see why they like make us do it at this point. Like no one does it. I don't think there's a single person that actually does it.
Perfect. Yeah.
No one does any of it. Even people who like work out do their own thing.
Okay, I think I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
This says that those ones are the answer, those are not, right?
Where? No, that's not a jump. That's a hole. A hole. No, a hole is where you can fix the problem, the discontinuity, by just moving a single point. That's just a hole. A jump would be like at 1 or at
Almost the end of the corner.
those are jumps because you can't fix that with a single point. See the difference?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the last thing?
Almost the end of the last.
Any
quarter.
questions?
Yeah, we're getting the last quarter. Get a lot of views.
Makes it everywhere. Because based on.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, but I'm just watching it. It doesn't matter. So how many do I have to have done? Like 8 of them? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to have like 8 done. You just finished the second.
Check those.
You want us to do 8 workouts at once?
That's not.
Oh my God. Wait, my login? Wait, what's the join code for my school?
Wait, really? You haven't set it up at all yet?
No, it like kicked me out.
Wait, so what did you do the first 2 quarters?
I did it. It just I don't remember my password.
Oh,
Is that my password? Maybe I forgot my password. Where's my email? I haven't looked at my emails in a while. It's fine.
It's fine. Doesn't that you don't care? Okay, because
Why are colleges still emailing me? Haven't the deadline my password?
for some.
But you're saying it's the same password for everything. I don't know why. I want to be. I never did this. Be careful.
Get there, but that's actually from Delaware.
No, that's happened to me a couple times. I haven't seen it a lot. Okay. All right. So back to-
Yeah.
can I use the bathroom?
Sure.
And you.
What?
You need help? Have a good day. For the light. Let's do my fast. Block 5, workout 13.
What's that?
So,
So you're finished.
why? Why this one? Yeah.
Like,
I was wondering why they were talking about infanticide, and then I remembered the modest proposal. So pretty good satire. But basically talking about using children's tablets and eating
Yes.
spinach.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
It's 100% right.
At one point, it did sound like that, and then at another point, it sounded, oh wait, this is actually what you want. What is it?
No, it's satire. It's a joke, but
I
it's
know.
a ye old joke.
I know,
It's pretty funny. I thought.
children should be used as cat.
Yes, children's tablets. Why not?
That's essentially the best.
No.
Or just to like.
Talking about aborting. Most of them. When they come from you're Ethiopian, I'm Irish. I'm like, we didn't hurt my people. The Irish have been like
Why is this
treated so poorly throughout history. No one ever talks about it.
We talk about how you
I just want
came here.
basic understanding of
I don't.
and she wants us to partake because
I know you do.
So just like,
like we make rules.
That
We
was,
did it scare you?
that, just
I mean, you know, silent.
Why we're doing stupid busy work, but I'm actually learning about things. What?
It's basically a whole sort of.
Why? Why?
should be used.
Oh, I totally speak it. Is it on English?
I didn't know that for fun. I didn't realize.
Yeah, do it all the
It has a lot of ideas in it, and all of them are good, but I haven't developed any of them enough to like one for a whole moment. More of it. It's not, there's like gaps in it that I have to fill in. I think it'll be okay if I just like fill in gaps.
No more else.
Okay.
And the next one is 30, 18, 19, 20.
Why are we and possibly doesn't forgive anyone if the actual wants to give them. Consider them and that relates. Hey, and I'm like, guess what? Fate is real and I was on the roll. And then I'm like, guess what? I'm suffering, not innately.
When it says like there was like.
And then I'm like-
advantage about that, it's just saying like.
And then it's somehow like, are they?
It's just what it is. It is really
Consider this my.
fun, you like, when it's saying, I don't know, that's.
And to make this end against the strength of.
So it's like getting a sector, there's like a great advantage to this.
You get it?
The children,
It's like my upload and then I end with the end.
it just gives more of an excuse to people.
I'm basically saying that mothers will not be aborting their children because they can't take care of them.
Yeah, it is.
Because the children will be used for food, and the
Yeah,
mothers
whenever
will
she
take
came from
money.
always like.
You get
Wait, you're. Yeah, we recommend. What is that article?